Hi everyone, and hello from Galveston for this special Juneteenth edition of Houston Life. I'm Derek Shore.
And I'm Courtney Savala. It's so great to be here in Galveston on this Friday. And we traveled to the island to take a look at the past, the present, and the future of Juneteenth.
And of course, Galveston is so significant on this day when 157 years ago, the news arrived that slaves had been freed. Today, we'll show you how you can retrace the moments of that historic announcement with some help from an app.
And then you can follow the footsteps of the newly freed slaves as we take you along the Emancipation Trail. The route is so many families took as they journeyed out of Galveston to start their new lives. You can also find out what's being done to preserve the history of this journey.
Plus, of course, we've got the Juneteenth experts, historian Sam Collins and Juneteenth artist Ted Ellis will join us for a more in-depth look at how our local community is celebrating and preserving this history. And we've chosen this exact spot for a very good reason. Right now, we are in front of this beautiful Juneteenth mural during a really important time in history on the day that has finally become recognized as a federal holiday.
That is right. Juneteenth was just declared a federal holiday last year to mark this date, June 19th, 1865, when federal troops arrived in Galveston to ensure all slaves were freed. The video that you're looking here is the mural on this building. It's a 5,000 square foot art installation, 5 portals depicting enslaved Africans being marched onto ships. It is truly breathtaking as you look at each one of these murals alongside this building.
It's beautiful, breathtaking, as you mentioned. Stand here and soak it all in. Of course, Harriet Tubman, there's Abraham Lincoln right there holding the Emancipation Proclamation. This day is also known as Freedom Day or Jubilee Day. And while many people have not historically celebrated Juneteenth, it is considered the longest running African-American holiday. It's been celebrated for decades, but the new designation, Courtney, of course, as a national federal holiday really puts a spotlight on this moment.
You know what's really incredible? A little bit later on in the show, I'm going to go inside. I'll take you inside the NEA Center, an unbelievable artifact museum, but there's a copy of last year's declaration. The signatures on there, there are so many things inside this building that really gives me goosebumps, and that's one of them. When you walk in and actually see that declaration, making this a federal holiday, long overdue, and it gives special meaning all day long. And even on the radio, I'm hearing people say, "Happy Juneteenth." I mean, it should be part of our vocabulary, and today we're taking all day to celebrate this holiday.
And it will be interesting to see how in the years and decades and centuries to come, how this holiday expands and how it will continue being celebrated.
Well, listen, all day long we are going to do this during Houston Life, and today we're taking a look at the history, of course, of Juneteenth and how you can celebrate this holiday. And we're starting with the Freedom Walk here in Galveston.
Yeah, so that Freedom Walk traces the news of freedom as it traveled through Galveston. It all started at Pier 21, the port of Galveston, then coming here to the Juneteenth marker and mural. After that, to the U.S. Customs House, then to Reedy Chapel, and finally to Ashton Villa.
And Mel Cappen's joining us live at that very first stop. That's Pier 21. Hi, Mel.
Hey guys, oh my goodness, it's a beautiful day here in Galveston, a wonderful weekend to be celebrating Juneteenth. And as you said, we're here. This is Pier 21, and it is a really significant place in the history of Juneteenth. Now, of course, Juneteenth was the day that slaves in the South found out that they were free. It did take some time for them to get the news, but here at Pier 21, 2,000 federal soldiers arrived to make the announcement and travel through town. Now, this is the first stop. There's an app that you can get. You can download it at visitgalveston.com, and you can use the app to guide you through all the different walks. Of course, Courtney and Derek were talking about the different stops along the way. This is the first stop, and a really powerful, it's just a little plaque, but this is a powerful remembrance to the slaves that were stolen, taken from their homes in Africa, put on boats and brought to foreign lands away from their families. I mean, just that alone is a really, really horrible thing to think about. But this middle passage that this marker talks about is the journey that these people had to do in the slave ships where they traveled across the Atlantic Ocean to get to the Americas. And of course, Galveston was one of the ports that brought in slaves into the United States. And by 1860, there were a third of the population in Galveston were people who were living under slavery. And it's why a day like Juneteenth is so important to celebrate. And I really, honestly, I recommend getting the app and doing this tour and learning more about the history of Galveston, because, you know, when we know better, we do better. And sometimes history is not the nicest thing to look into. There's a lot of sad moments, but from that, we can move forward and grow together as humans on Earth and be strong. Guys, I think that's a really beautiful thing about looking into history and just getting through the gritty bits, and then we can have these beautiful celebrations like Juneteenth, where we are celebrating freedom, and that, you know, is what it is about today.
Mel Camp, that is so perfectly stated. We already liked you, but now we like you even more, and we'll be checking in with you a little later on in today's special edition of Houston Life. Thanks.
It's really great to see that app as well. Okay, Juneteenth historian and Galveston native Sam Collins is with us now to walk us through what happened right here in Galveston on June 19th, 1865. Welcome to the set, Houston Life, in this beautiful backdrop. Sam, you know what? If we were standing in this very spot in 1865 on June 19th, would we have known the word was coming? I mean, was it sort of any other day, or were we anticipating something?
Well, Galveston had already surrendered earlier in June, but Granger did not get here till the 19th. And when he came in, he came off the ships in the bay, came downtown, and set up on this corner where the Osterman building was located. And that's where he issued General Order Number 3. Now, Granger did not write it. Major Frederick Emory wrote and signed General Order Number 3 under Granger's command. And then they would have sent message out from this corner throughout the town, and the soldiers, many of them United States colored troops, would have took that message throughout the city, past the U.S. Custom House to Reedy Chapel, and spreading the message throughout the city before they went further inland.
And Sam, we have a number of firsthand accounts of how this news was received, correct?
Yeah, you know, there are oral histories that have been passed down for generations. A friend of my grandmother's childhood friend, she's an attorney, Faye Williams, often says her grandfather told her that it wasn't a piece of paper that freed the enslaved people of Texas, but it was the men with the guns. And that's why in the mural, the men with the guns depicted are the Union soldiers that came here not to inform, but to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation and General Order Number 3.
Wow.
It's really, I mean, I'm telling you,
have chills.
Right, all day, and even inside the NEO Center, which you and I will be going to here shortly, there are so many chill moments that I think that we're going to experience today. And when the word came and the slaves were freed, I mean, what happened? I mean, they...
Of course, there would have been a joyous celebration.
Yeah.
There would have been disbelief. Is this really real? General Order Number 3, while it says all slaves are free, the complicated part it says that the freedmen are advised to remain at their present homes and to work for wages, that they would not be supported in idleness there or elsewhere. So while it says you're free, but don't go anywhere. So in some cases, individuals left looking for family and trying to relocate to other locations to find family members, but many stayed and became tenant farmer sharecroppers. So there was a trail of people that left Galveston, but there are also people that came to Galveston. So this was a two-way street, so to speak.
And I can imagine that for so many of these people and families, it's sort of like your life is starting all over again. You mentioned people, some of them set out to find family members, and, you know, to heartbreaking results. Many of them never were reunited with their family members. But this was also a very troubling time for a lot of people who felt like they were left with nothing. They had to start a new life.
Well, you're free, but you don't own any land. You don't own the wagon. You don't own the horses. So you have to get employment to start earning money. And the wonderful thing is when they begin to earn money, they begin to build homes, churches, communities. That's over 500 settlements or freedom colonies throughout Texas, identified by Dr. Andrea Roberts in a Texas Freedom Colonies project. In places like Emancipation Park in Houston, celebrating 150 years this year, that land was purchased by formerly enslaved people that pooled their resources and made sure they had a place to celebrate long before it was popular in 2020, long before it was on the calendar in 1979. The former enslaved people and their descendants celebrated freedom and getting that message here in Galveston, Texas, the birthplace of Juneteenth.
It's really incredible, and I love that you're here with us today to discuss the past, the present, and the future. Looking forward to our tour inside at the NEA Center as well. Sam Collins, we'll catch up with you in just a little bit. Do appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
And as Courtney mentioned, we will be with Mr. Sam Collins coming up later on in the show with some history and facts that might surprise all of us.
Yeah, and I'm going to start with a handprint in some bricks in this building. That is mind-blowing. It's really incredible.
Okay, that's a good tease. Still to come on this special edition of Houston Life, a trip along the historic Emancipation Trail. Find out what's being done right now to protect the historic sites along the way.
And Juneteenth artist Ted Ellis just unveiled a new exhibit dedicated to Jack Johnson. We're going to stop by for a preview with the artist himself. Houston Life will be right back.
Welcome back to this special Juneteenth edition of Houston Life. We are joining you from Galveston Island, where we've been taking an in-depth look at the history and the future of the holiday, now federally recognized Juneteenth.
157 years ago, news came that slaves in Texas were free. As newly freed slaves looked to restart their lives, many headed north, leaving Galveston and traveling right into Houston.
Yeah, you can travel the route today. It's now called the Emancipation Trail. But if current efforts to give the trail an historic designation are not successful, these historic sites along the way could eventually be gone forever. Houston Life's Enrique Ramirez has the story.
The Emancipation Trail tells a story, the story of Juneteenth. And like every story, you have to start from the beginning. This story begins in Galveston, Texas at Pier 21.
When the colored troops came on shore and Gordon Granger joined them, that was the first place that they stopped to let people know that they were free, and that happened on June 19, 1865.
This is Tanya DeBose, and today Tanya is our guide on this 50-mile journey through history.
What this trail does is it allows the emancipation stories of the people who were formerly enslaved to be able to tell their stories. What happened? What did they do? What type of contributions did they make to Houston, to Galveston?
Along the trail in Galveston, each spot is marked and labeled with a brief description, signifying the importance it played on the trail. Most of these stops are in walking distance in the historic Strand District of Galveston. But it is here at the Juneteenth Legacy Office where you'll spend most of your time.
There you will be able to see the absolute equality mural. When you take your phone and you click on that mural, it opens up and tells you stories. Every scene in that mural tells you a story.
Other stops include the site at the Union headquarters, the U.S. Customs House, Reedy Chapel, and Ashton Villa.
Go and visit those places because they have great stories to tell. The environment is still intact, and you'll get a lot of wealth of knowledge by visiting those areas.
Our next stop on the trail, Houston, Texas.
Key sites in Houston, you want to go to Emancipation Park because, you know, 8 formerly enslaved people who attended Antioch Church in the Fort Ward area literally saved up enough money and bought the first public park in Texas, and that is Emancipation Park.
Emancipation Park is one of many stops on the trail in Houston. These stops feature places African Americans came together to build a community. Places like the Nazarene Missionary Baptist Church.
They became the meeting houses, they became the schools, they became the places where people gathered to find out news and to work together. And from those foundations of the church, they were able to build community.
Tanya, here at the Nazarene Missionary Baptist Church, people still come to church here, worship.
Absolutely, people still come on Sunday mornings to worship. Many of the people who still go to this church are descendants of the original people who started this church. When the trees blow and the breeze comes, me and my colleagues always say the ancestors are here.
Here at College Memorial Park Cemetery.
There's so many important people who are buried here, but there's so many regular people.
People like the Reverend Henry Jack Gates.
He was one of the ones who really got a lot of the churches, schools, and businesses started for African Americans in this area.
An area that is slowly disappearing. Unlike Galveston, some Houston sites are not considered historic landmarks and are not protected.
So many places along what we consider the Emancipation Trail of where early settlements happen are endangered. And they're endangered because they are landlocked. And so what you see is people who probably can no longer afford to live in these types of communities. And we're still here, and we plan to be here. And so come on out and visit any of these sites along the trail.
And all of these sites should be preserved, need to be preserved. And that was our photojournalist, Enrique Ramirez, bringing us that beautiful story of what you can see with your own eyes. What's really cool, of course, we are on 22nd and the Strand. And I want to show you the historical marker that's right here on the corner. So when you're walking by, I mean, I think many people you see it right here. And take a look around you, of your surroundings, to see these.
And the history of Juneteenth and, of course, the Emancipation Proclamation. Many of us remember hearing about the proclamation signed by President Abraham Lincoln September 22nd, 1862. But slaves in Texas did not get that news, of course. Many of them did not know about this newfound freedom until 1865. So next time you're down here in Galveston, 22nd and the Strand, take a look at not only this historical marker, but the beautiful mural, and really take a moment to soak in this incredible story that, again, many of us did not hear the complete picture or hear the complete story growing up in school.
Right, and I think doing the trail and downloading the app, you're also going to get some other things that would have been missed. You know, you get the headline, you understand what the story is, but all of these other historical markers and how the word traveled through the island. Of course, you can learn more about the efforts to protect these historic sites and see a map of the complete trail on our website. You can check out the Scene on Houston Life section of our website.
All right, still to come on Houston Life. Emancipation Park was purchased, as we mentioned, 150 years ago on Juneteenth.
Zach Lajwe is there with more on how this anniversary is being celebrated. Hi, Zach.
Yeah, take a look at this. The stage is being set up as we speak. Tents are being put up, and the party is about to get started here at Emancipation Park in 3rd Ward. In just a few minutes, we're going to give you a history lesson on this park, what it means to Houston and the greater Houston area. We're also going to tell you all about this weekend's events.
Today.
Welcome back to this special edition of Houston Life. In 1872, several years after news of freedom made its way to Texas, freed slaves purchased more than 11 acres of land in Houston's 3rd Ward. The land was to serve as a space for the African American community to gather and celebrate. We know it today as Emancipation Park, and there is a huge party planned to celebrate its 150-year anniversary. KPRC2's Zach Lajwe is at the park with more. Hi, Zach.
Hey there, Derek. Yeah, a lot to celebrate and reflect on throughout the weekend, including events in Galveston. There are also a ton of events happening here in Houston. Right now, we are in 3rd Ward inside Emancipation Park. We're actually inside the community center here in the park. Right now, this room is empty, but give it a few hours and artwork and exhibits will take over this area. Outside, people are busy right now setting up, including a main stage. So a lot happening here this weekend. To tell us all about it is Ramon Manning with Emancipation Park Conservancy. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. You know, this weekend is really important for the entire country, world in a lot of ways. Absolutely. But it's especially important for our region, including right here in Houston. Absolutely. What does Juneteenth mean to you?
You know, Juneteenth means to me reflection. It's a serious moment, although we're now celebrating Juneteenth as a federal holiday. It's so much more than a celebratory moment. It's really about reflecting on our history as a community, but more importantly, our American history and how we have come so far, but we still have some ways to go. And I'm just excited to be here at the historic Emancipation Park, celebrating our sesquicentennial. What other park can say 150 years, Zach?
3rd Ward has a huge hand in the definition of Juneteenth and civil rights. It all stems right here in Emancipation Park. For people not familiar with what Emancipation Park is, give us a quick rundown.
You know, most people think Emancipation Park and just think park from a recreational perspective. This is so much more than a park, Zach. This is sacred ground. This is historic ground. This park means so much more to a community than just recreation. Back in 1872, when this park was founded, it was founded under the premise of this space being the key building block for a community and being an anchor in a community to serve a community. So as we begin to celebrate Juneteenth, we want to pay homage to those founders, but we also want to make sure we don't get lost in this moment and we continue the work here at Emancipation Park as the intended purpose on why this park was founded.
To be cognizant of where we are today, where we were yesterday, and where we're going tomorrow.
Absolutely.
This weekend, there are so many events happening here. Tell us more about those events.
So, Zach, we just finished a series of educational panel discussions, everything from social justice to health and wellness, education, art, community development, and much, much more. We're wrapping all of that up, and I'm so excited about this. Tomorrow, the concerts will begin. Everyone from Miss Jewel Brown, a Third Ward legend, James Boogaloo Bolden, another legend in this community, with gospel lineups, as well as Sheila E., Frankie Beverly and Mays, Kool and the Gang, the Isley Brothers. So this is going to be a monumental celebratory occasion, and we're doing it big. Go big or go home, Zach.
For more information, where can people go?
For more information, you can go to www.epconservancy.org. And unfortunately, Zach, all of the tickets are sold out.
Sold out.
Sold out.
Okay, so we'll have to watch it right here on Houston Life, right? On KPRC2 News. Ramon, we so much appreciate you coming down.
Zach.
We, of course, will put all of this information and shots from the weekend-long event, again, on our website, clicktohouston.com. For now, we're going to send things back to you, Derek.
Okay, Zach Lashway, thank you so much. Some big names for that celebration. Bummer that it is sold out. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic time and a beautiful, beautiful gem in our community. Coming up next on this special edition of Houston Life, we'll take you inside the NeoCultural Center here in Galveston for a look at the art and artifacts of Juneteenth. Historian Sam Collins is back with the stories behind these pieces and so much more when Houston Life returns right after this. Welcome back to Houston Life, this very special Juneteenth edition from Galveston, the birthplace of Juneteenth. I'm Derek Shore, along with Courtney Zavala, who is about to show you something very special. Hi, Courtney.
Hey, Derek, that is right. We have moved inside. I have to the NEA Center. This is in Galveston. This is an impressive display of art, artifacts, and all kinds of things. Sam Collins is joining us now again for the second time. And in this beautiful space here, there are so many artifacts, as I said, but you really are working to get a museum preserved, and you're working with two different universities.
Absolutely. Texas A&M University and Prairie View A&M University have partnered together on a project to design a museum for the community of Galveston. So this was done by one of the students.
It's really great when you walk in the door, and I talked about this at the beginning of our show, that you have a copy here of the Declaration, which gave us Juneteenth a federal holiday. Talk to us about what it means to you to see this when you walk in the door.
I mean, the reality of it was just overwhelming last year when it was finally signed. They had several people have been working on it for over 2 decades. The National Juneteenth Observance Foundation started in 1994. So while it became popular in 2020, again, it has always been important, and people have been pushing for this national holiday, and we're glad that it's on the calendar now.
Absolutely. Happy Juneteenth. I don't know if I've said that to you
Juneteenth.
yet. As we walk through this beautiful building here, the NEA Center, 22nd and Strand, there are so many different pieces of art here, and there's one specific here in this area that you want to talk about, which is just absolutely breathtaking. Who is the artist of this?
The artist is Ted Ellis. This piece is Free at Last. It was done June 17, 2006. So we just said last year, June 17, 2021 is when Juneteenth became a national holiday. So 15 years to the exact day from when that painting was started at a Juneteenth celebration at Stringfellow Orchards in Hitchcock. So we've gone from Stringfellow to the Strand. So that was the very first piece, and the rest of this collection and even the mural was birthed from this very first piece. So this is the genesis of our Juneteenth Freedom Project, which took art all over the country, showcasing this Juneteenth history.
There are so many pieces of symbolism here, from the shackles to the 1865 dripping in blood, to the pain, to holding hands of the family. I mean, there are so many things to absorb here.
Yeah, the family unit, the grandmother with the quilt, and the storytelling in the quilt there. The United States Colored Troops on top of the house. They came and enforced the message. The shape of Texas, if you see the top above the former enslaved individual's head, you have the shape of Texas there. You have Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, the drum for communication, the deep roots, so much symbolism in that painting, and the fact that that was the genesis for this to get started. Mr. Ellis is an American treasure, and we should be thankful that we would not be here in this moment if not for him and for allies like Ms. Sheridan Lorenz, who seed funded the mural project to make sure that it became a reality.
It is really unbelievable. I mean, all the pieces in here, a beautiful collection preserving our Juneteenth holiday. I want to show some video for the folks at home of this, the building. There's some bricks in the back staircase of this building. Explain the significance of this, because there's also handprints.
Yeah, the fingerprints that are in the bricks all over this country, there are places that were built by the hands of enslaved people. And sometimes those bricks were soft when they laid them into place, and when they pressed them, they left their fingerprints. So the fingerprints of the enslaved people are all around us. Symbolically, it's in banking, housing, healthcare, criminal justice. You can see the impact of enslavement throughout time. But you know, when freedom came, there were so many success stories that came out of that. So here in this space, we do have positive success stories, and I'd like to share some of that too.
I know. Let's take a look at that, because we have some portraits here. We've kind of walked our way through the NEA Center, and this first portrait here, who is this gentleman?
Dr. Dudley Woodard was born in Galveston in October 3rd, 1881, and he became the second African American to receive a PhD in mathematics. So I don't know many people that have a PhD in mathematics. He went on to teach at Tuskegee, earned his PhD June 28, 1928, eventually became the head of the math department at Howard University and retired from Howard University in 1946. But he had attended Wilberforce University, and his mentor and teacher was John Rufus Gibson, who was principal of Central High School here in Galveston from 1888 to 1936, 48 years of commitment to this community.
Sam, I feel like I just need a tour from you every day. I mean, there's so much in here. And this table's also, there's more portraits here. This gentleman here on the end.
James Baldwin. James Baldwin in The Fire Next Time says, these innocent people are trapped in a history that they don't understand. Until they understand it, they can't be healed or delivered from it. So that's not the quote in the print, but that is one of his most famous quotes. And we need to teach more of this history so people in our country can heal and move forward and tell more success stories like Dr. Woodard, John Rufus Gibson, and Jessie McGuire Dent. That's a female we'll have to talk about later.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Happy Juneteenth, Sam Collins. We appreciate your insight, your information, and the tour today.
Happy Juneteenth.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And of course, Sam Collins is the Juneteenth Legacy co-chair for this project as well. So Derek, a fabulous tour inside here at the NEA Center. I'm going to send it back to you.
Courtney, thank you so much. Those bricks, by the way, are beautiful, and what an incredible story behind them. Can't wait to check that out for myself. We'll see you in just a bit. Still to come, we'll meet the man behind the art. I met up with artist Ted Ellis at a brand new Juneteenth art exhibit he just unveiled here in Galveston. Don't go away. Houston Life will be right back. Welcome back to this special edition of Houston Life, our Juneteenth edition from Galveston. I'm Derek Shore. Our next guest has dedicated his life to documenting African American history and culture, heritage, through his artwork. Award-winning artist Ted Ellis joins us now. Ted, it's so nice to meet you. And I have a million questions for you because you are essentially, you're a scientist, you're a dad, you're a historian, you're an artist, you wear so many different hats. When in your life did you realize this passion inside you had been stirred?
You know, I'm from New Orleans originally, so that city is full of artistic exuberance. And, you know, you just visit the French quarters and you just, around the whole square, you see all the artists. And I was mesmerized with them at a very early age. And when I was old enough to take public transit, I would go and visit the artists in the square. Leave the artists in the square, go over to Loyola Avenue where you had the public library and indulge myself in world history.
It really is incredible. Yeah. New Orleans, that's a fantastic place to visit. So colorful, so artistic. Let's talk about your work because we'll get into the specifics of this painting in just a moment. Your art is more than just art. You have said that you want to use your art to help educate people, to bridge the divide, to inspire people, and to start a conversation.
Definitely. That has been a growing piece of me, you know, as an artist. You know, being very intentional, being purposeful in your passion. And, you know, art says nothing, but it says everything. It quietly speaks to you. Whether you're a child or an adult, you can see something in that painting. And it's palatable. It's easy to engage. And enlighten. So there's an opportunity to learn, to educate, and I understand that. And so, you know, I spend my time doing research, I spend my time studying, and then I let it all ingest inside of me and formulate. And then I express it. You know, I just immediately just put it out on the canvas. And that's the emotional piece in it. And that's the really honest piece in it because it gives you your own signature as an artist. You know, that's Ted Ellis style. You know, I can tell. So 30 years of paint, 30 years of engaging. When you're talking about, you know, communities, you're talking about organizations, profit, nonprofit. When you're talking about institutions, you know, at churches, at corporations, you know, I've had those opportunities. Walt Disney, Merck Pharmaceutical, ExxonMobil. You know, my recent exhibition that's at Leidos, the Juneteenth Journey to Equity Excellence, where I have 17 dynamic paintings that speak. My exhibition at HMAC, Houston Museum of African American Culture, my Juneteenth champions, those 30 individuals, 90% from the Galveston community to tell their stories, you know, on fighting racism, fighting injustice, fighting for freedom and equity. These stories of these individuals right here from Galveston to the formation of the 11th federal holiday. And so you say, Ted, well, what inspires you? You know, I have the ability to heal at the end of the day. And our goal is to uplift humanity, improve human capital. And we're supposed to do that with the gifts that we have. So I have this little thing about sharing and caring. You got to care about people and you got to share your gifts and what you have. My passion, my love is my art. And so I get to create these stories and share. So when we talk about Jack Johnson, the Galveston stevedore, before he became heavyweight champion, what's that story of that man who was dedicated, you know, to his family and to his community? How challenging it was during the early 1900s, which was a challenge for a black man to be free and to be liberated and to speak. And if you look at all of his film and his footages, if you read his stories, you see this undeniable will and strength of a man, you know, to measure up and show his value in his work. And from Galveston, Texas, he went all over the world. Prussia, Russia, Switzerland, Europe, Havana, Cuba. He was there, a stevedore. And prior to a stevedore, he took every odd job. But you got to think about what got him ready in preparation for becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. Prior to that, he was the color champion of the world. Prior to that, he had always continued to deal with oppressive forces that he was up against. That was Jack Johnson. And so when we celebrate Juneteenth, 2.5 years outside of signing the Emancipation Proclamation, General Gordon Granger came to Galveston, Texas, and said, cease and desist. Slavery is over with. Those that have been enslaved are now free. Abraham Lincoln charged him with that responsibility with the colored troops that were placed here in Galveston. When the folks saw the faces of those black soldiers, these men of bronze that were marching over at Reedy Chapel, saying that slavery was over with. And Galveston, the heart of Juneteenth, you can easily say freedom started here, comprehensively, collectively, among all the citizens of the United States. That's why it became the 11th federal holiday. And so folks like Jack Johnson, who was unapologetic in fighting racism, stood up against all the adversity in that aspect. There was something about this stevedore. And when you learn the history of the stevedores and what they did, they kept this country fluid. They kept it dynamic in a sense of engaging capitalistic, because all kind of trade and commerce was happening through the stevedores. So all the produce and stuff was being shipped internationally. The stevedores, the pressers who were there were loading up the trains, loading up rail, loading up the ships, so that folks could be fed, folks that have clothes. That was the stevedore. He was a champion long before he became the heavyweight champion of the United States.
And he is just one of the many lives you have documented. Ted Ellis, I have so many questions for you. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but thank you so much for all your work in the community and everything you have done. And the good news is y'all have many opportunities to see Ted's work. There are so many exhibitions currently on display and upcoming as well. So happy Juneteenth to you, sir, and it is great to meet you.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
In the meantime, Courtney, we're going to send it on over to you.
Thanks so much, Derek. It's so great to meet the artist, of course. Ted Ellis, some of his work is inside the NEA Center right behind me as well. A fabulous story. Hey, guys, don't go anywhere. Coming up next on Houston Life, they're the future leaders of Juneteenth. This year's Juneteenth pageant winners are here right in Galveston, plus a fourth grader who just won a citywide contest with his inspirational speech about Martin Luther King. All of that and more when Houston Life returns. Keep waving, ladies. Well, welcome back to Houston Life, this special edition on this Friday celebrating Juneteenth here in Galveston. And right now we're meeting a special group of young ladies, people from our community who are making a huge impact by promoting and representing the history and the importance of this holiday, Juneteenth. With us now, we have the winners of this year's Miss Juneteenth Pageant. We have 4 lovely young ladies with us, so we're going to go down the line. Ladies, thank you so much. Welcome to our stage here in Galveston. And happy Juneteenth. Thanks for being here with me. We're going to start with Amy Johnson, who is Miss Juneteenth. And for anyone who doesn't know, Amy, about the Juneteenth pageant, tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it was hard, but working together, we had all came through together, and it was a great experience, and I believe everyone should try it. We are reaching out to more girls that would love to, try for next year.
And how would someone do that if they're hearing you and thinking, I can do this next year? How would they do that?
Oh, you can contact us and we will lead you to the person who brought us all together, which was my professor.
And where do you go to school?
Texas Southern University.
Awesome, fantastic. And winning, what does this title mean to you?
This is really a blessing. I would love to help my community and show youth around the world that there are more positive things in life than negative.
Oh, you are so right, girlfriend. Congratulations. It's lovely to meet you, Amy. Next, we have Amelie Martin, Senior High Miss Juneteenth. And through your role as a pageant queen, what message do you hope to send to young girls?
The message that I hope to send to young girls is really to just be yourself, especially little black girls, so they could learn how to, just be confident. This whole pageant to me was just about confidence, and in our community especially.
What does it mean to you to even have Parker here on the end, she's a younger girl, or even have younger girls look up to you because you look like them? That's so important to be able to stand on this stage, because pageants are just more than just a pretty smile.
It's just wonderful to be able to have little girls look up to me like, yes, you're black, you can do this, you're confident, you're informed. I feel that every little black girl should have that confidence and be able to go up on the stage and just say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
Absolutely, you got to do it, right? You got to take one step ahead. Congratulations to you. Next, we have Coy, who is Teen Miss Juneteenth. And what does it mean to you, Coy, to be a representative and to wear this banner today?
It means a lot. I definitely think that this is a big step for the community. I think that this can also encourage other girls, as Anomaly said. And I think it's just something that is awesome.
It is awesome. And I have to tell you guys, you know, standing in front of us, we just met a few moments ago, it's not easy to prepare for a pageant. It's not easy to talk in front of people. Certainly not easy to talk on camera. So what did you do to prepare for this today?
I definitely just imagined it and definitely just prepared myself mentally and prepared for the worst, even though.
Well, listen, there's no worse. This is all good, and you have to visualize it to make it happen. Congratulations to you, Coy. And next we have Parker, who is Junior Miss Juneteenth. I'm going to come over here and tell me why you wanted to be in this particular pageant.
Because I can teach other girls that are my age to be a little lady, and so.
Well, job well done, Parker. Absolutely. And did you like preparing for the pageant as well? Can you tell me what you did to prepare?
I worked and worked and worked, and they kept on reminding me, you have to look good, keep your head up.
Well, it looks like you knew exactly what to do. Parker, Coy, Amelie, and Amy, thank you so much. Congratulations, ladies, and happy Juneteenth. There's the wave. Jump in. You got to wave. Parker, can you do it? There you go. Pageant wave. Love it, ladies. You're beautiful, both inside and out. Brains and beauty. Derek, we're going to send it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Courtney, and congratulations once again to our lovely winners there. Joining us now is this guy, Ronnie Williams. He just finished 4th grade at Law Elementary School in HISD, but already Ronnie is making his mark. Check out this video. He won 1st place in this year's MLK Oratory Contest. Such a huge honor, and the first student in Law Elementary School history to have won 1st place in the oratory competition. So, Ronnie, welcome to Houston Life, and tell us about this competition. Essentially, 4th and 5th graders have to write an original speech about Dr. Martin Luther King. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about the speech that you wrote to win this competition. Why do you think you won?
I think I won because I put compassion in it and love in it, and I put hard work and dedication in it.
How much hard work and dedication? About how long did you study for this?
I can't even say the percentage, and it took me about 3 or 4 months to remember the speech, so yeah.
Wow, 3 to 4 months of studying. That's a very long time, and of course you wrote the piece. When you deliver the speech, this is 100% memorized, right? You're not reading it, you're just reciting it from memory.
Mm-hmm.
That is incredible. Okay, so I understand you're a straight A student. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
You're on the honor roll too?
For the last week of school, I got all A's, and I had got a 98 on the STAR test, so I missed 1 question.
That is fantastic. So it sounds like you're ready for 5th grade, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, in the meantime, Ronnie is not wasting any time. He also wrote a poem for Juneteenth, and in just a moment, you will recite that poem for us. But I got to know, outside of school and writing and the speeches and the poems, what do you like to do?
I like to, like my friends have been come over my house frequently, so we be playing, and I like to play basketball, and I like to rap.
You like to
draw.
rap?
I can draw pretty good.
Okay, rap, drawing, basketball. One day, are we going to see you in the pros? Okay.
I mean, I hope I am.
Okay, I think you can do it. Rapping and poetry on the court. Why don't you stand up, Ronnie? And once again, as we just mentioned to our viewers, in addition to the MLK oratory speech, you have written a Juneteenth poem. So why don't you treat our viewers to your poem there, Ronnie? Go for it.
My eyes have seen the glory of changing times. New faces and places, it blows my mind. As I consider our forefathers and all they went through, bought and sold like property, used and abused, hard work, low pay, the back of the bus. They marched and fought for a better life for us. From the 3Ks, Jim Crow, they never let go of their stride. They kept pressing towards the mark with the unrelenting pride. Faith in the Father, saved by the Son. They believed that if Thank you.
Ronnie Williams, you are going places. Thanks so much. Don't go away. Houston Life will be right back. Well, it's hard to believe that hour is up already. That does it for us on this special edition of Houston Life. And big thanks to all of our esteemed guests on today's show.
I know, so beautiful. We appreciate you all for being here, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, and a quick shout out too as well. So the Ted Ellis piece that we featured a couple minutes ago in the show, Dr. Nanette Denise DeBrule commissioned that beautiful painting, and she gifted that painting to the Rosenberg Library. So again, and follow Ted Ellis's work online. Again, if you're in Houston, you can go to the Houston Museum of African American Culture, and you can see his Juneteenth Champions exhibit, which is on display through the rest of the month. So what a treasure, not only in this region, Galveston County and City. Y'all are very lucky to have Ted Ellis here.
Oh, 100%. And again, ladies, congratulations. These are the 15th annual Juneteenth pageant winners, so we do appreciate you being here. Little pageant wave for us.
And Ronnie
today.
Williams, first place in this year's MLK Oratory Competition. Thanks so much, buddy. Put her there. Good job today. All right, Courtney. Well, it's a beautiful day here in Galveston, but we have to say goodbye.
We will see you next time.